Welcome back to the Rebel's Edge, where everything that glitters is not gold, because silver is once again flying high. And we've got the 411 on that, as well as a whole bunch of unusual activity. And that's not the only one. So stay tuned for today's Rebel's Edge. Bang. Guess where, Pete?
I got no guess because there's so many different places you could be right now. I know you're in Europe, or at least that's what I think you are, is in Europe somewhere.
Yeah, I'm in Austria.
Oh,
And the nice folks at the New York Stock Exchange gave me their ski team hat.
that's a badass hat.
One of the things, yeah, it's like 400 bankers and traders and people that work in finance from around the world get together once a year for Interbourse, because a bourse is an exchange in Europe, folks. Virtually all of Europe, they call them bourses, not exchanges. And so we get together once a year, Pete, and do a little ski racing. They're doing, believe it or not, so it's nighttime here, but they're doing some racing outside right now. Dual slalom under the lights.
They got lights over there. I didn't know. That's new to me. I, as a former skier, racer, and all that kind of stuff as well, I can tell you that I did that plenty of times in Minnesota and other states, but I don't know if I ever remember even lights on out there in the European world or whatever. That's pretty cool.
There's not that many places that do it, but
Yeah.
there are a few. And by the way, San Moritz, they do it there, and they have a big long run at night. And but as you might imagine, it's a little cooler at night, so
Yeah.
it's not quite as popular. But it is fun. And I guess we better jump into the Rebel's Edge, Pete.
Let's do it.
People might like hearing that I'm over here, but they might want to get into some stocks. So we'll kick it off with, and I'll say durable goods for November surging by 5.3%. That's almost what the fourth quarter GDP was, Pete, 5.4%. So very positive sentiment regarding manufacturing. That's what I'm going to say is today's macro from my side of the pond, Pete.
Well, let me tell you this. Everybody tells us how awful things are, John. I mean, that's the, I can't believe it. I'm absolutely floored. I'm shocked. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I mean, these idiots love to come out there and give all these prognostications. Oh, yeah, there's no way people aren't going to do this. They're not going to do that. They're not able to do this. Really? Well, it looks like they are, right? And I find that pretty interesting. You were bringing up gold and silver, and I'll get to that in a minute as well. But all that being said, John, these miners for gold, silver, copper, you name it, are lithium, you name it, are absolutely on fire. And I think as far as like when I look around at various sectors and this, that, and the other, what stands out for me today is just the magnitude of how well these companies are doing right now. And a lot of that has to do with AI and data centers and this and that, whatever. But it's amazing how these miners are just absolutely exploding to the upside.
They are. And like you said, Pete, if you wanted to take a look at the picks and shovels side of that trade, that's pretty good for Caterpillar folks. Pretty good for folks that go out there and have heavy earth moving equipment like Komatsu and Caterpillar. And, just to give you a clue into some of the things Pete and I are looking at right now. Mm-hmm. All right. As far as VIX, people seem a little sublime, Pete. It's not crazy. It's not, flying to the upside like when it was 21 last week. It's down in the teens still.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, here we sit, John, essentially call it 16. Yes, we've gotten outside of the range itself, but for what, minutes, maybe hours, whatever it might be. But, we've had some moves to the upside that all of a sudden got people shaken. And by the way, how great was the trade for the VXX, which is that short-term VIX where they did exactly get what they needed in the time frame that they needed it to happen. So that part was absolutely amazing to me to see how that all played out, John. But 19 or 20 still seems to be something where, it pops up there, but it gets rejected very, very rapidly. Yeah, that return after getting there has been absolutely rapid. So I'm going to say that right now we just got to stare at it and know that the VIX is trading, give or take, without even looking, cover your eyes, 15.5 to 16.5. That's kind of where we seem to be as a real range. Yes, we get outside of that range here and there, but it doesn't last very long, that's for sure.
Nope, not at all. Well, as far as prediction markets, Pete, I thought this one was interesting. Government shutdown. The odds of a government shutdown right now are 81% by January 31st. 81%. So I'm not real good at math, but I'd say a majority of people on that site are betting that we're going to shut down by
That's
January
30th, right? I mean, that. Look at the jump at just where it just was to where it is right now. I mean, that's pretty staggering, John. I don't know how you feel about that, but that seems a little high to me. I mean, but you know, who knows? Things can happen, and they can happen in a hurry.
Yep. Well, I'm sure we'll get a little volatility out of that, Pete, and look for people to be maybe playing that vol game with Pete's short-term volatility ETN, exchange traded note, which is different than an exchange traded fund, folks. All right, let's do a little small cap spotlight, Pete. And we are paid to basically alert you folks to what's going on with a quantum emotion. That's QNCCF. And last week, big news from one of our favorite names in quantum emotion. They filed a registration statement to list on the NYSE American Exchange, which will give US investors a direct path to acquire shares. Now, presently, I think they've been trading on the Toronto Venture Exchange, Pete, but this is a big deal. Anytime you come, and you know, I'm not trying to slight Canada, but anytime you come down from Montreal or Toronto and you list on the US, on the NYSE Amex or American Exchange, that's a big deal. And these guys, we've worked with them for probably 4 or 5 months already, Pete. And they have random number generators for things like crypto wallets, as well as other things that quantum emotion can do. It is, and the guy who is the head of it, Pete, the CEO, couldn't be a nicer guy or a smarter guy. I mean, this guy's kind of up there on the Elon Musk scale. So I'd say make sure you guys check this one out. QNCCF, Quantum Emotion. It's one that we've been working with and that we're still pretty excited about. And I think we'll hear more and more good things coming from them in the future. All right, let's dive into some stocks. And yeah, we both, Pete and I, teased the all that glitters is gold, or as Pete would say, the Yukon Cornelius trade. And silver and gold, the
Burle Ives
trade.
Man, Burle Ives.
Yukon Cornelius trade. He throws the axe up in the air, Pete, or the pick, and it comes down, and then he starts licking it. Well, he'd be tasting an awful lot right now because gold went over, gold went over 5,100, Pete, and silver surged over 110 per troy ounce. And in fact, the SLV, where we had unusual option activity, we did. The unusual activity has been fast and furious in there, sort of like Vin Diesel, fast and furious. It has been, I mean, look at that. So the 20th of January, when it was 85, they were buying 6,000 of the end of January, 87 calls. Well, today, it's over 100. It's 102 right now. That slide you're looking at, it's a little old. So it has absolutely exploded. And look at the really big trade there, Pete, was the 34,000. That's the one that got you all excited.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, John, the buying has been absolutely extraordinary in SLV. We could actually say the same thing about GLD, and both of us have been on multiple different other media sites outside of just this, talking about exactly that. You know, it's the Burle Ives or whoever you want to pick as your character, but silver has been on an absolute run, and it makes a lot of sense, John, just because of the fact of, well, it's not just jewelry. Yes, it is jewelry, but that's not the only thing it does. It's in our phones, it's in our computers, it's in everything in, the crypto space, the solar space, the photographic space. I mean, medicine, you name it, storage, whatever you need. It seems like silver is something that's part of that whole trade, John. So yes, it's been ripping. As a matter of fact, I just wanted to take a quick look and say, how is silver itself? Not the SLV, but silver. It's up 263 points in the last year, percentage, in the last year. So to say that this thing's been on a run, this thing has been on an absolute freak show run to 113 and change today, John. So every moment that we wait, it's going to be a little bit higher. It seems like this is the kind of day that is. But we've been on it. We've been seeing that SLV paper, and it's been absolutely extraordinarily right, along with the GLD paper, which has been extraordinarily right. And they just keep coming. And today is no different than last Friday, last Thursday, the day before. They are coming for silver in the form of SLV as well as GLD as far as gold is concerned, John. But it's a freak show, and it's crazy.
Well, what about to shift gears just a little bit, Pete? This Revolution Medicines down hard. Now, we talked about it a couple weeks ago when it was running to the upside because Merck was thinking about buying them. All of a sudden, Merck says, I don't think so, not at the price you guys want. And so the stock drops by 21%, just whoosh to the downside. There it is. Now, it's not all the way back. You guys can see that on the chart there. It's not all the way back from whence it came. But if nobody else steps up, Pete, I think I know where it's going.
Yeah, well, John, this is one of the things that it gets a little bit scary at times is all of a sudden you've got a bid, and Merck came out with the bid, right? And they said, all right, we want to buy you guys for XYZ. Well, the problem is that, and these guys have an amazing backlog of things that they're going to put out there, for cancer treatment and so forth. But this is a $30 billion deal. And essentially Merck has decided, you know what? We're going to kind of cap off the $30 billion range. We're looking closer to 15, maybe 20 billion or less is what they were looking for. And there must be something else to it, John. But for whatever the reason, Merck has decided to back away from what they were looking at. And it's going to be an interesting thing to see how this actually trades over the next couple of weeks, couple of months as we watch this one. Will Merck come back again? They might. But, it's one of those things where these guys have a decent pipeline, but not a whole lot out there, John, when it comes to do they have drugs that are in the approved process or absolutely getting approved and so forth or got approved. And that's, I think, something where all of a sudden they maybe sort of step back and they've decided, you know what, we're looking for different types of companies where it's 5 to 15 billion as opposed to going all the way up to 20 billion. So there might be more to it. We don't know. No one's going to probably ever tell us that. But I think that the reality is that they've pulled back for a reason, whatever that reason, whether it's the number itself or maybe they just got cold feet.
Yeah, well, it's a big check to write. When Merck started sniffing around and people got an idea that, well, what if there's a fight for it? And it got all the way up to 22 million. And Merck said, hold on a second, let's slow down a little bit. And that's why you see what you see today, folks. Yeah. Let's talk about USAR, Pete, because USA Rare Earth, the Trump administration is going to do something similar to what they did in Intel, Pete. They're going to buy 10% of the company. In this case, they're not going to spend $9 billion. They're going to spend $1.6 billion, but they're going to get a 10% stake in this rare earth company. They did similar things last year, Pete, with other lithium and rare earth miners. And like you said, there is not a hotter sector on earth than the mining sector right now.
Yeah, and USAR, I mean, the USA Rare Earths, like you said, I mean, the Trump administration's gotten involved with a lot of different companies, whether it be Intel on that side of things or getting onto this side, like you were talking about, wanting to protect, so to speak, the rare earths and so forth. So big positions. 10% is a big position. $1.6 billion is what the U.S. has put in there. By the way, on the private side, John, you also have Cantor Fitzgerald saying, you know what? We'll take $1 billion feed on this thing as well. And we're liking what we see here. And it makes a lot of sense. Stock absolutely exploded early on. It pulled off of those highs, John, but it got as high, and I'm not seeing it there, but it got as high today. I'm showing that it's been as high as $32 today, which it's not the 52-week high, but it's not that far of a distance away. So gives you a little bit of a perspective, and you can see by that chart, this is a stock that's been going bottom left to the upper right for a while now, and that's has been a really big run. But these investments, so far so good. No, knock on wood, these investments that the government has been making, whether it be Intel, even with this pullback in Intel of whatever, 17% on Friday, John, even with that, it's a hell of an investment that they've put into this thing, because that's the big run that we've seen out of Intel. Has been absolutely incredible since the government decided to get about 10%, I think, in that one as well.
Was it $20 a share? So even with the pullback here, it's still a lot higher than that. Yep. And they also, last year, Pete, the president basically said, hey, give me MP Materials, give me Lithium America, LAC, and give me Trilogy Metals, TMQ. And yes, we had unusual activity in this one, USAR. And if you guys want to get some of that, trade just like Pete does, just like I do, well, by all means, when we put that QR code up on the screen, all you got to do is scan the QR code and you could join us. Mm-hmm. So let's do one more, Pete, CoreWeave, because we had unusual activity in CoreWeave. And you can scan this QR code, folks, because CoreWeave, with the big data center play, is making another big move. And people were buying at the beginning of December at $81. Well, that seems like a pretty damn smart trade. They were buying February. We've already rolled up twice. And now today it has this big 12% pop, of course, on the what's going on with data centers and so forth, Pete. So again, if you want to get in on that, well, you should start following unusual option activity, folks.
Yep. Somebody sniffed it out, John, for sure, because NVIDIA decided to make this investment there as well. What? $2 billion is what they decided. You know what? We're going to expand this partnership out a little bit. Well, they've expanded it out a lot. And I think for all the right reasons, NVIDIA, I think, has done a very good job, John, of kind of weaving around in what they've been up to as well. I mean, you know, you got to give the CEO a lot of credit for what he's done and how he's done it. And this is all, you know, a factor of, all right, we're the build out of AI. And all those clowns, by the way, out there, and I do mean clowns, who said, oh, yeah, the bubbles burst and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, in those little ones that had no business being there, but not in some of these big names, whether it be NVIDIA or a CoreWeave or whatever. You know, you go in and you look at the AI and you look at the data centers, you look at all this stuff. The demand is there. And when you pay attention enough to the earnings, we actually hear about some of those demands and how unbelievable some of the demands really are. And they truly are unbelievable. So, you know what? This allows them, John, from the standpoint of this investment, everything from land to power to infrastructure to you name it. And NVIDIA now has got a pretty decent stake in CoreWeave. So, you know, hats off to NVIDIA for making some really smart decisions. And, you know, CoreWeave, by the way, this is one of those that I think a lot of folks were wondering about this one. You don't have to wonder anymore. They've got the right people out there putting that stamp on them right now, saying, yeah, these guys are going to be a winner.
Pretty sure it's going to be a winner, just like some of your sports today, Pete, because that was one of the strangest games, the Seattle Rams game, because they had some strange calls, especially after some of the calls we saw with the Buffalo Bills, for instance. That was pretty strange. But to see this one, Pete, the Rams against the Seahawks, and then to see the New England Patriots just barely scrape by Denver Broncos. What do you got as far as how do you give a handicap to either of these teams going into the Super Bowl in 2 weeks?
Well, you know what, John, when it really comes down to it, without Bo Nix for Denver, it kind of comes down to who are the best two teams. I think we got the best two teams all year that got themselves in position to be where they are right now, which is going to the Super Bowl, right? I mean, Sam Darnold had an MVP type year, if you want to say that, and I do. I think he was unbelievable. I think that New England has a quarterback that you could throw into that category too. LA has a quarterback you could throw into that category. When Bo Nix was healthy until the final snap, which was his ankle, the week before, probably had the best, quarterback and positioning to get themselves in there. So I think that the NFL is so fortunate. Now, that being said, people are already saying, well, but is this going to be a very attractive Super Bowl with these two teams? Yes. I think it will, John. You've got the entire West Coast covered, and you got the East Coast. We've got a guy by the name of Vrabel, who seems to be a pretty damn good coach. I mean, he stepped in, turned things around, got them to be tougher on defense, helped and got the right coaches to help him out on the offensive side of the ball. And Drake May had, an unbelievable year. And then you look over at McDonald, what he's done out there at Seattle. I think it's absolutely extraordinary what they were able to accomplish. I think the games were good games. They were balanced. Were there some mistakes and stupid plays being called at times? Yes, absolutely. But let's remember, too, Denver, I mean, you've got a quarterback who goes in there who's barely started. He's played a few games with the Raiders. He didn't have a single snap this year in real games. He did not have a snap until he gets to the NFC Championship game, right, or whatever. So, or the AFC, championship game. So it makes it that much more interesting, I think, that and he was so candid, so good about what he was talking about after the game too, John, the quarterback stand up. He literally just was like, that was my fault. Yep, you're right. That one's my fault. He owned it. He owned what happened. But the reality is, did either of them get blown out? No. Were they pretty damn good games where there was still opportunity towards the end? Yeah. So, I would imagine that the ratings were probably pretty damn good. A lot of people hunkered down in their houses because of the weather that we've had this past week and everything else and weekend and the craziness of it all. But I'll tell you what, John, that Njigba, the wide receiver for Seattle, 9 catches, 139 yards. I'd say that guy is not only a breakout guy, he's got to be one of the best wide receivers in the game. And Sam Darnold was smart enough to do what he's been doing all year. He's thrown him the ball. He threw for 3 touchdowns, John, 300 plus yards. I mean, this is the guy that our local guy in Minnesota, who's known as the quarterback whisperer. Well, he needed to turn up that dial a little bit because he let him go to Seattle. He let Daniel Jones, and I'm harping on this because we've said it all year. We didn't just start saying that. Daniel Jones goes to Indianapolis, has a great year. Sam Darnold goes out to Seattle, has an MVP type year. I mean, it's really pretty spectacular, and how the Vikings missed out on that one is still a puzzle to me. But so what did you think about these games? The only thing the Broncos did wrong, and it was the quarterback pretty much doing it, was the turnovers. The turnovers. You can't have those turnovers, and that was the difference in the game, was those 2 turnovers that the Broncos had.
Yeah. Well, the Vegas line right now, Pete, is 4.5. That's the Seahawks. And a lot of money came in on that because they think it's going to expand. Maybe it does. I think New England had an off game, Pete, except for their defense, of course. But the defense was going up, like you say, against Stidham rather than going up against Bo Nix, which would have been, I think, a much more of a tester for New England. But on the other hand, you hold a team to 7 points in the NFL, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So Seattle scores a lot, and they score quick. They do march occasionally down the field, but they score pretty fast because just like the Rams, those are 2 of the best quarterbacks out there, Darnold and Stafford. So am I surprised that the over-under's 46? I think it's a little high, Pete, because I think the Seattle defense is better than any defense you or I have seen this year. So I would say take the under, but I still think Seahawks win.
You're so right, John. That was a great call on the defenses because I'll tell you what, that Seattle defense, what that defensive line does, and those linebackers, and you know, I don't know how many people even could name you a player on their defense, right? I mean, if you better be a big fan to probably even have the knowledge of what their defensive line is and who they are, and you know. But the amazing thing is, it's a young football team basically, and they've put together a lot of pieces that make them a hell of a team. You know, offense and defense, and they run the ball really well, but they can also throw it when they have to, and they've got great receivers. I mean, they've really done a lot of things right, and I think we got, you know, a salute to those guys for what they've been able to do at Seattle, and quite frankly, New England. I mean, New England last year, they weren't very good. There's a reason why he's a brand new coach there. So I would say that Vrabel deserves a lot of credit too for what the heck he's done, because those guys are damn good, John. They really are. They're fun to watch. They got good running backs. They got a quarterback who's solid, big, and he kind of reminds you, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady because that would be stupid, but he sure has the stature and some of the confidence and some of those things that you want in a quarterback. And that's a lot of what I think Tom brought when he got to have the opportunity to be the starting quarterback. All right, John, second sports topic. This weekend, I was lucky enough to go down to Lincoln, Nebraska. Coach Osborne invited me to come down there. It was really great. I mean, that guy is like, you know, it sounds crazy, and you being my brother, it sounds even crazier probably, but he's like a second dad to me. The guy reaches out. He's the nicest man on the planet Earth. I can't imagine anybody being more kind, generous, or anything, John. And he and I were talking about, and he loved the conversation because I went down there. He had a sermon, and it was a little bit about what he does, you know, and his wife talked him into doing maybe 25 years ago. He started something called Teammates, and it's a mentoring thing that they tried to do just in Lincoln, spread it out a little bit. Then it became the state of Nebraska. Then it became Kansas, Iowa, South Dakota. I mean, it's in 5 states now, and they're helping kids get themselves to college and get themselves mentored to do the right thing, do the homework, do this, do that. And it's just amazing. 95% success rate of getting them to college. So hats off to him and what they were doing. And then he and I, of course, had to talk some sports. And we were talking about the basketball team, because you and I have been talking about this. Well, after we talked about it last week, John, I got to say it again, because they were here in the barn here in Minnesota. Minnesota has a pretty decent team this year and was ahead in the first half and then got blown away in the second half. Nebraska scored 46 points in the second half, John, to beat us 76-57. So what was a game where we were behind, Nebraska was behind, my Gophers, they took off after that. And I got to give a lot of credit to a former a player for the Chicago Bulls, John. But I'll tell you what, Hoiberg and his son, who's a player on the team, that guy was a great player back in the day. He was at Iowa State. He came over there, and he's been coaching now for like 4 or 5 years with Nebraska. And all they are is 20-0. I mean, they're undefeated still. This is the highest rank they've ever had. And he and I were talking about how similar this is to that Indiana thing that I keep bringing up day after day after day. But it's, you know, Indiana, it's still amazing to me. You know, they were terrible in football for so many years and great in basketball with Bobby Knight. Well, all of a sudden now you got Cignetti on that side, and he's doing pretty damn good. And also we got Hoiberg on the Nebraska side doing pretty damn good. These guys have suffocating defense and elite offense. Tough to beat somebody like that, but they got a tough one coming up. I think it's tomorrow against Michigan, John. I think Michigan's ranked top 2, top 3 in the country right now. So that one's going to be a tough one, but it just keeps going. I mean, Nebraska just keeps winning, John, and that Pinnacle is – they hold a lot of people in Pinnacle Arena, so that might be a pretty fun game.
Well, Pete, the son of the coach, Sam Hoiberg, is leading the team in assists. They've got a great scoring offense, stifling defense, like you say. So Michigan game, looking forward to it on Peacock tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Central. And I think it's a test for Michigan as well as it's a test for Nebraska. And if you can get over, you know, if you can win against Michigan, or if Michigan can beat a 9-0, 20-0 overall Nebraska team, either one of them are going to be hanging their hats on that. into the NCAA playoffs, I think. So, a lot of good stuff coming in the next few days for both teams. So let's cross our fingers and maybe see if we don't see an undefeated Nebraska team here, Pete.
Yeah, Hoiberg's doing a great job, and it's amazing what he's been able to do. And you look at that team, and you're just shocked how good they really are. I mean, it's fun to watch them, and I think it'll continue to be fun. And this is just one game, this Michigan game. If they ended up losing or something like that, at some point, I got to figure they're going to lose a game. And you'd rather do it now rather than in the NCAA tournament. So who knows? But Michigan's pretty damn good. There's no doubt about that. It's been a great day, man, and I'll tell you what, John, I'm excited about the sports side of it, but I'm just as excited, if not more excited, about what's going on with silver, with gold, and everything. And we will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We have no idea what time that is for John, but Eastern Time here in the US of A, and it should be a lot of fun. We're really excited about it, and we'll see you then.